I was expecting a really dumb comedy based on the marketing for this movie, and it's definitely not that. I didn't really know much about Code 3 going into it, other than the fact that Rainn Wilson was in it. I'm a fan of him, as I obviously am one of many people that loved his work on The Office. When I was given the opportunity to check out the movie early, I figured why not just went in looking for an entertaining movie. It's definitely a mixed bag, but it's an interesting one at that. I didn't hate my time with it. I'm very conflicted on a lot of things regarding it, because I don't know if I would say that I liked it or I disliked it. It's somewhere in the middle. One of the first great things that I picked up about the movie is its energy. It's paced really well. It's just over an hour and a half long, so it's not too long. You never feel like the runtime is really dragging this one down. Pacing is well done. It's just well edited, and it flows nicely, as it is 24 hours day in the life, and it's going emergency to emergency to emergency. And I liked how it showed the craziness of a day in the life of an EMT. My cousin is an EMT. I've heard stories from him, and just those horror stories sometimes, and then just the craziness of it. And the movie does note that in breaking the fourth wall, which we'll talk about in a second, that most of the stuff is based off of true retellings, people recounting what they experienced on the job. It reminded me of Bringing Out the Dead, which was a Scorsese movie that, while I wasn't crazy about, one of the things I liked about it was showing the side of the EMT world, which, I wouldn't say there's too many EMT movies out there. And when it comes to breaking the fourth wall, it's an added part of the movie that doesn't really feel necessary. It doesn't really feel like it needs to be there. It's an interesting touch, I suppose, but why is it there? It'll do it, and then there'll be a chunk of the time in the movie where it doesn't, and then I honestly forgot that it was there, and then it'll do it again, and it was just very infrequent. Where Code 3 started to fall back a little bit as I was watching it is that it's just not that funny. It's not really well written, cleverly written. The jokes don't really land. Lil Rel Howery, who I really like, I loved him in Get Out. He was so funny in that movie. I was hoping that he could elevate the material just with his funny comedic shtick, and he unfortunately tries his hardest, but the material isn't that good. And I honestly don't think this movie needed to be a comedy. I think that they are promoting it as a comedy, but it's not really trying to be that all that much. What it is trying to do, for what I would say for the most part, is tackle the struggles that come with this type of job. It's very tonally inconsistent because it can be silly and then really heavy. There is one sequence where it goes from a joke to Rainn Wilson breaking the fourth wall, and in the most serious of tone. It is so drastic. Here's a bunch of things that it kind of does. It kind of tackles the extreme problems within our medical system in the US and people having to pay for bills. The issue of not having free healthcare. And it kind of tackles the weight of the pressure an EMT can feel to just perform. The idea that you have these people trust you to literally save them and save their life sometimes. Rainn Wilson's character is dealing with that, but it never fully explores it. And then obviously it is trying to be a comedy too, so it's just trying to do it's one too many things. Just focus on, honestly, I think it should have focused on the more serious aspects. The tone just isn't clear enough. I don't really know what they were trying to convey. I also think the movie isn't long enough for what it's trying to explore, because it's trying to do, if you want to do all those things, okay, beef up the runtime to really give moments to breathe and be fully explored. One of the highlights was Rainn Wilson in the lead. I think he's extremely talented, obviously, because I love him as Dwight, and I have to give massive props to an actor who, always, if they're known for one thing and they can sometimes struggle to break off of that, he really, I didn't just see Dwight here, and I think that's really important as an actor when you are so acclaimed for one thing to kind of distance yourself from it, and I think that he does that here. The role asks a lot of him, from the weight of just the job and him just kind of losing his mind and not really knowing what to do. I think he was just great, and I thought that the movie was entertaining. It didn't ever really test my patience. Like I said, I didn't hate watching it. It was kind of, in some ways, while I definitely have problems with it, it was entertainment, and that's not always the worst thing. Side note, there are some really poor ADR. There's one particular scene where Rainn Wilson just completely breaks character, and they didn't really even seem to just reshoot it. The movie is definitely not long enough for what it's trying to explore. The story doesn't really know what it wants to focus on. It's a mixed bag, but it's an interesting one. I never hated it, and I think it's somewhere fine. It's somewhere in the middle. They really should have tightened up that tone. I'm gonna give Code 3 a C, and if you're curious to check it out, I'd say it's a rainy day, stream it kind of movie, but it's not one that you gotta put on your radar to check out. It has the ingredients to just be one of those Netflix movies that goes on the charts and does really well, and people are like, oh, where was this movie? And it kind of just slips under people's radar, but like not for the greatest of reasons. Be sure to let me know your thoughts on Code 3 down below in the comments. If you enjoyed this video, hit that like button and subscribe to the channel if you haven't already. And as always, look forward to more content coming soon. My name is Ben, people call me Meter, and I'll see you guys in the next one.